Have you ever had a student deny doing something that you saw them do? You know, the time when you saw Tommy hit Johnny, and when you confronted Tommy, he said he didn't do it. Or when you heard Mary tell Sophie that she couldn't play and then swear at her and she totally denied it happening. You can become really infuriated with young people when they deny their behaviour because it feels like it leaves you with nowhere to go. It can feel very frustrating and may result in you blaming the student even more and then characterising them as a liar. I grew up in a home where we were threatened with punishments like having our mouth washed out with soap or getting the belt from my dad, his actual belt, if we did anything wrong. And one day my sister and I were playing outside. We'd made a slide from a plank of wood and we'd spent the afternoon sliding down the plank, having a great time. And when our mother saw our shorts, which had been worn away, like to the point where we had holes in them, she was really angry and made us go and sit in the laundry and wait for our dad to come home. And we must have been about 5 or 6 years old. Waiting for Dad was really scary. And I must admit, it didn't encourage me to own up to my own behaviour. In this video, I'll share with you the reasons that underlie the behaviour of students and young people who don't take responsibility for their actions, who don't own up, and what it is you can do to help these students begin to see that mistakes are a part of life and that they can learn from making mistakes and owning them. When you understand why your students deny their behaviour or don't seem to learn from their mistakes, you'll be less likely to feel as frustrated or powerless in the situation and recognise that the student is doing the best they can do with what they've learnt so far. And it will help you to see that your role is to teach them, not to punish them or judge them. My name's Mari Amaro and I'm the Principal Presenter at The Highly Effective Teacher. I'm a teacher and I've been working with students and supporting teachers for over 30 years. I'm passionate about teacher wellbeing and I combine research and experience to provide the most effective ways to manage a classroom in a positive way and contribute to teacher wellbeing. Improved teacher wellbeing means improved student wellbeing, and that contributes to better social and academic outcomes for all our students. If you'd like to learn more about teacher wellbeing, please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you receive notifications of all our videos. When you subscribe, that helps to support the channel and means that we can keep making these videos so that get the information and support out to more teachers. Most teachers would agree that in your classroom, you want to develop a culture of accountability. And that means, 1, that every student is responsible for their own actions and behaviours. 2, that every student is responsible for following the class rules or expectations. And 3, every student is responsible for how they respond to stressful or frustrating situations. Every student being held responsible for their actions means that we need to set up the environment for student success and understand the barriers for some students in taking responsibility for their behaviour. When students deny their behaviour, even when you see them do it, there can be a number of reasons. And the biggest one is fear. Students fear getting into trouble, fear of the relationship being damaged irreparably, fear of another person's anger, or fear of physical threat. One student I taught was often in trouble for hurting others, but he would never admit that he was responsible. And looking at the student's background revealed a history of domestic violence, a father who would physically assault him when his school report wasn't very good. And while I couldn't excuse his poor behaviour at school, because of his background, I could understand and then make adjustments for what the student needed to be successful at school. These students need firm and fair, calm, consistent, and inevitable consequences that teach them how to behave at school. And if you're interested in learning more about what it means to use logical consequences and how consequences can help teach a student to behave appropriately, check out our video on what are logical consequences. Secondly, students may catastrophize incidents. And what that means is that They feel that they've completely ruined the relationship by their behaviour, and so there's no value in taking responsibility. They can't see any purpose in doing that, and they see no benefit or upside for owning their own behaviour, so they refuse to do it. And thirdly, they may have a lack of role models. Some students have never witnessed anyone taking responsibility for their own behaviour, and they may have only ever seen people deny what they'd done. And this is true in society, family, as well as in school. Students from chaotic backgrounds need to be able to trust that taking responsibility for their behaviour will not result in punishment or being ostracised. I recently witnessed a student whose background involves couch surfing, being in foster care, and having a parent who was incarcerated. And the student's behaviour, some of their behaviours included intimidation, violence towards other students, threatening behaviour towards teachers, and they were disengaged from school. This student was highly at risk. And the student was on a modified attendance at school, which included limited access to the school, and they only attended school for 2 hours on the days they actually did attend. And on this particular day, lots of things went wrong, and this is no one's fault, but it's something that we need to be aware of, because when things go wrong, students don't trust that we're going to be there for them. And what went wrong on for this particular student is her grandfather brought her to school half an hour early. The student entered the school appropriately and then wandered the corridors, which was not appropriate, but there was nothing else in place for her. She wrongly accused someone of throwing water at her, then stormed around the corridor in a rage, obviously highly anxious and displaying it in that rageful way. The principal came and escorted her up to the office, which she did, but while she was waiting and was still angry, the principal came in and told her that she was going home. The student then became angrier and ended up breaking the windows at the front of the school. And this behaviour had detrimental effects on the office staff and any students who were available at the time, and the senior executive, who also it impacts on their feelings of safety. So what do we need to learn around giving students the ability to be able to own their own behaviour? First of all, we need to be prepared. And we need to be prepared with every kind of contingency. We need to have backup plans. Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. If the deputy principal isn't there, then the student goes to a different teacher. If the principal's not there, they go to the deputy principal. If they can't go into one room, there's another room that's available for them. Another thing we really need to remember is not to give students consequences when they're escalated. We also need to take responsibility for when we've messed up, because we're human and we do. And this is one of the biggest lessons that kids can learn, is that when we mess up because we weren't prepared or something went wrong, that we don't then put the blame on the student. That the fact that our plan didn't work because we weren't ready. We need to discuss the situation calmly with the student and allow the student to tell their side of the story. Being heard is one of the best things we can do to help students learn to take responsibility for their own behaviour. Thanks for watching our video. Stay safe and happy teaching.